Oh my goodness. Okay, so there's wind and I hope it's not messing with you too bad. But I cannot believe how warm it is out here. Let's have a lean and get a look at my terrace system here. I'm noticing it's visible from this angle. We also have these really fuzzy branches that if I can, the stable base is, oh, it's so hard to tell. It's this thing here. It's hard to tell where to point on the screen. And it's, the hope is that I can extend this along and be able to cut a lot of these down to a point where they'll resprout. Not to a point where they're dead, just to a point where they'll resprout. And that way, we'll keep the stability of the hillside that they've created, but not have it interfering with the view. You can see that there is a deer path. I think I'm pointing to the right space. It's going like here, and it probably goes in front of this brush pile here. And you can also see that people dump things. There used to be a no dumping sign, but people dumped anyway. If I put it back up, because here's the thing, it just about fell on my car, so I removed it due to it not being actually installed properly. And when I had a car, it just about busted through it fell, and it was laying next to my car, but it almost broke my car. So I took it down at that time. That was several years ago, but this is no different than it was. But if I put it up newly, people might notice. So it's a thought. Here's this side of the house, and of course the cliff side, which is probably where we're going to spend a lot of time today. Oh dear. And yeah, things are pretty brown, except for a few plants that aren't brown. I can identify plants that aren't brown right now. Some of it's feverfew, which I just heard from Edible Acres has been deterring their groundhog situation, so that might be something for me to use feverfew for. And the other things that are not brown are ground ivy and bittercress, the Pennsylvanica. All of these could be classified easily as weeds. We have some of the grass type plantain, English plantain, not a banana. And we have some sow thistle. And I see a singular, what are those called? Hawk flower or something like that. Very, very invasive and always advised to be pulled out. So I'll have to come back and get that. My seed plots need cold exposure, so I'm hoping that we'll get enough cold this winter. That's called stratification. And yes, you can do that outdoors. And just stepped over a lot of stuff right there. So what you can see on the porch is I brought out a whole bunch of boxes and insulating liners that are also cardboard. And so what I've been doing, as you can see, is increasing the lining on my walkways going around. Reduces mud, reduces damage to the cloth underneath. Oh dear, that's not good. See that? That's not good. So these will be hopefully placed today, but probably the biggest thing I'm going to focus on is down the steps on the cliff. So back here, the main green things are Daffodils pushing up out of the ground early, like before winter even starts. And moss. And some ferns. And again, the ground ivy and bittercress. Plus onion sprouts. Again, the English plantain. And then this large green item is rue, which is Ruta graveolens, a culinary herb from Europe. It's in the bitter family, but it also is a uterine stimulant, so not to be used when pregnant. Yeah, I see a little bit of green underneath on this plant here at the base is lady's mantle. I see it still being a little bit green underneath. And I also see some of the poppies coming up, which are this right here. That. And a few other things that may or may not be poppies. I think they're mostly poppies here. And of course, this is my new yastaberry, and that is my red currant. I'd like to thicken this space up, maybe put like a full height tree or a medium height hedge somewhere in here, because it's still pretty open. This is supposed to get about 8 foot though, but this is supposed to be my food hedge. Or fedge for short, depending on how much of a nerd you are. And of course, these are all my little potted plants with their little insulated root systems. And I'm really hoping that these little guys will also take my black locusts here that are just tucked in the soil for the winter. Let me move this. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So that's the top side. Oh, this is mullein. These great big florets of green here are mullein. A lot of moss, a lot of bittercress. And then there's, I think it's straw flower that I get as well. There's some strands that look like grass over there but aren't. And then there's some green up in here. Some of this is the low growth on my bee balm, Monarda. It's the pink type, not the red type. And I can see that some of my woodruff, sweet woodruff, is still green up in here. And that might be about it that's still green. Oh yeah, I still got a bit of fence there that's in my way. Oh, this is so much nicer without that awkward big thing being in my way. This will be nice for bean trellising. And it's also really nice having the asparagus held up that well. I gotta still put a drilled hole through the middle rack on the far side from where we are right now. I can also see a bit of, what is this called? Pennyroyal. Tucked in along the edges of, where are we? This tire. And a lot of the strawberries are still green too. Which are these 3-leaf things up in here. So, yeah, that's the plan. This is really interesting how this is so much more green, because this is not green in other places in the garden. That's the stone crop, yellow sedum, a couple different names. And this is extra green going across the rock here. That is, again, pennyroyal. So we get a bit of a faded green off of the sage in the places where that's growing. It's culinary sage. So I think I'm going to do a separate video that's the before for going down the cliff's edge. Get my tools together, get them down there, and then we'll see what it's like, and maybe do another video on how to get the next steps going on the stairs. So I hope you're having a good Saturday, and take care. Bye-bye.